Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here today to take this stack of sources. You brought us this really interesting collection of recent news snippets, all focused on cryptocurrency.
That's right.
And we're going to dig in, try to pull out the most important bits of knowledge, the key insights. Think of it as, a shortcut to understanding some genuinely significant things happening right now in the crypto space.
Yeah.
And we've got quite a mix here. I mean, everything from national policy considerations to corporate integration, even market predictions.
It's a fantastic set of sources, really. A snapshot, like you said, of how crypto is, well, bumping up against different parts of the global system right now.
Exactly.
And our mission, really, in this deep dive is to cut through the noise, figure out what's really important in these developments, and maybe connect some dots you might not have seen before.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this then. Kicking us off, your sources hinted some really intriguing shifts around how governments are viewing crypto. Or maybe not viewing it, depending.
Very different approaches.
What really jumped out at me first was this detail. Ukraine is apparently drafting a bill, specifically, to potentially add Bitcoin to their state reserves. That sounds, big.
It is big, yeah. Conceptually, adding Bitcoin to state reserves, it means potentially treating a decentralized digital asset with the same kind of gravity as gold or major foreign currencies, like the dollar or euro.
So like a strategic asset.
Precisely. It frames Bitcoin not just as some speculative investment, but as a strategic national asset. And that raises fascinating questions, doesn't it? About how a nation might manage its balance sheet, its risk in the future. You have to ask why a country would consider doing that. Is it perhaps a hedge against currency devaluation? Or maybe a strategic move in a pretty complex geopolitical landscape? It's significant thinking.
See, that's really interesting because then you contrast that with another source you brought. This one mentions the Bank of Korea governor.
Ah, yes.
Meeting directly with bank chiefs, specifically to talk about stablecoin policy shifts. Totally different focus.
Absolutely. And the concern highlighted in that Korean source, it's quite telling. They're discussing potential new laws, ones that could allow fintech firms, tech companies, to issue stablecoins pegged to the Korean one.
Okay.
And the central bank is, worried about the impact this could have on their financial system control.
Right, control.
They're looking at stablecoins, which, remember, are designed to be less volatile than Bitcoin. But their focus is squarely on the regulatory side. The implications, the potential for losing their grip on monetary stability. So yeah, put these two together. You've got Ukraine exploring Bitcoin as a potential strategic reserve asset.
Yeah.
And then South Korea looking at stablecoins as a potential challenge to financial control. It just starkly illustrates the diverse, sometimes conflicting ways different nations are grappling with crypto integration.
It's definitely not one size fits all.
Not at all. It's a patchwork, really. A patchwork of concerns, different strategies, different national priorities.
That really highlights the spectrum. Okay, one seeing potential asset value, the other seeing potential control issues. Fascinating. All right, so moving from nation states, your sources also give us some pretty concrete examples of corporate adoption. I like the one about Rumble.
The video platform.
Yes, exactly. Rumble integrating Bitcoin Lightning for creator payments.
Yeah.
That feels very practical, down to earth.
It does. And the source specifically calls this out, doesn't it? As a move towards mainstream adoption, but like you said, in a really functional way.
Right.
They're using the Lightning Network, which is built on top of Bitcoin, specifically because it's designed for those, microtransactions. Fast, cheap payments.
Yeah.
The kind that are actually feasible for paying content creators frequently. It's not just a company holding Bitcoin on a balance sheet somewhere.
No, it's different.
It's using Bitcoin rails for actual business operations, payments going directly to individuals.
Right. It's putting the crypto directly into the hands of users who are earning income, not just investors speculating. It kind of bypasses traditional payment system.
Exactly.
Could be significant for platforms and individuals, really, globally.
It shows a shift, I think, a shift towards leveraging the utility layer of crypto, not just the asset layer.
Utility, yeah.
Oh.
Okay. Now, you can't really talk crypto without talking markets, right? And your sources definitely have plenty of chatter there.
Always.
One point mentions Bloomberg ETF analysts. They're apparently giving a Solana ETF a 90% chance. High odds.
Yes, and the really juicy detail from that source is that these analysts apparently think the SEC, that's the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, might actually start approving altcoin-based ETFs.
Exchange-traded funds.
As early as next month. potentially.
Wow. Okay. So beyond Bitcoin and maybe Ethereum.
Exactly. And this raises a crucial question, right? If we do start seeing ETFs or altcoins, how significantly does that change the investment landscape? I mean, it could provide traditional investors with much easier regulated access to a wider range of crypto assets. That could draw in new capital for sure.
But maybe change the dynamics too.
Could do. Could definitely change the market dynamics for those specific coins. It's something to watch.
And then contrasting that potential sort of new regulated access, you also have these really bold predictions. Like Michael Saylor.
Saylor. Always bullish.
Just flat out rejecting any fears of a crypto winter and stating pretty unequivocally that Bitcoin is going to $1.
And the source includes his reasoning, his justification for that. Saylor apparently believes Bitcoin has, quote, passed that phase of significant downturns, the kind linked to previous cycles.
Past that phase, huh?
Yeah, he ties this to things like growing institutional adoption, maybe more regulatory clarity. Basically arguing the asset is more mature now. It's a very long-term, high-conviction call from, let's face it, a very prominent figure in the space.
Definitely prominent. But, of course, the flip side, the reality that's acknowledged in another one of your sources, is that for most people, the search for the best crypto to invest, well, it's still heating up. There are thousands of tokens out there.
So many.
And traders are desperately trying to, as the source puts it, separate hype from actual opportunity, which isn't easy.
It really isn't. So you have this fascinating tension, don't you? On one hand, potential new regulated ways to access assets, like these possible altcoin ETFs. On the other, these extremely bullish long-term predictions from figures like Saylor, and then contrasted with the everyday reality for many, which is navigating this incredibly crowded market that's just full of hype.
It's a lot. All these points from your sources, they really speak to the complex, sometimes contradictory investment climate right now. It feels like it's maturing in some ways, but still a bit of Wild West in other corners.
Totally. Okay, let's quickly touch on one specific project development that was mentioned. Ripple's XRPL EVM-compatible sidechain. Sounds technical.
It is a bit technical, yeah.
But what's the key takeaway from the source? What's the point? Well, the core purpose described in the source is basically to be the most effective tool for facilitating the biggest onboarding of users and projects in the XRP ecosystem.
Onboarding, okay.
Essentially, they're building a bridge, making the XRP ledger compatible with EVM, that's the Ethereum virtual machine.
Right, the dominant standard.
Exactly. It means developers who are used to building on Ethereum, which is still the most popular smart contract platform by far, can more easily bring their projects and their users over to the XRP ecosystem.
Ah, okay, so it makes it easier for Ethereum folks to jump over.
That's the idea. It's a clear example, really, of how these established blockchain projects are actively developing infrastructure, not just to improve their own tech, but specifically to compete.
Compete for developers.
Compete for developers, for projects, and ultimately for users. It's about growing their own corner of the crypto world by making themselves more interoperable. Playing nice, you could say, with the dominant standard out there.
Got it. So it's about expanding their kind of addressable market by linking up with the biggest ecosystem. Makes sense. So, okay, let's take a step back then. We've looked at quite a few things from these snippets you brought. What does this collection tell us overall?
Yeah, pulling it all together.
We've seen nations eyeing Bitcoin as reserves, but also, fretting about stablecoin control.
Right.
We've seen a major platform like Rumble actually using Bitcoin for payments. Real utility.
Yeah, practical use.
We have analysts predicting new altcoin ETFs potentially coming soon. Saylor predicting $1 a Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Alongside that ongoing struggle with market hype. And then specific projects like Ripple building these technical bridges for onboarding users.
I think your sources, taken together, they paint a picture of relentless integration, but multifaceted integration.
Multifaceted, yeah.
Crypto isn't just one single thing anymore, is it? It's being considered and adopted really differently by national governments. It's being integrated into corporate operations. It's changing how traditional finance views investment products. And it's constantly evolving at the project level, too, with things like that Ripple sidechain.
So lots happening on different fronts.
Exactly. The underlying currents are certainly towards greater integration into the mainstream, I think. But look, it's messy. It's often contested. And it's happening with very different speeds and motivations across all these various sectors.
It's definitely not a simple straight line narrative, is it?
Not at all.
Well, hopefully, pulling out these specific threads from your sources gives you, the listener, a much clearer view of this really dynamic landscape.
And perhaps here's a final thought for you to consider, based only on the material we've just discussed from your sources.
Okay.
If national governments are seriously contemplating adding Bitcoin to their reserves, while at the same time expressing deep concerns about stablecoins and financial control,
Right.
that tension and corporate adoption, like Rumble's, continues, alongside these predictions of dramatic market increases and the potential arrival of new investment products like altcoin ETFs.
Well, how do you think these sometimes conflicting forces will ultimately shape things?
That clash between a national desire for control versus decentralized assets, corporate utility pushing boundaries, investment structures trying to fit this new tech into old models. How will all that shape the future pace and maybe even the nature of cryptocurrency integration into the global economy? It's a complex puzzle, isn't it? A lot to think about.
Absolutely. A very complex puzzle indeed. Thank you for bringing us such a thought-provoking collection of sources for this deep dive today.